Alright, what's up YouTube? Today for you guys I'm going to be reviewing one of my personal favorites, Bang the Dice game. Alright, so let's open up this box and I'll show you guys what comes in the game. Right as soon as you open it up, you're going to find a stock of bullets, which are going to represent your health in the game, and a cache of arrows. You're also going to have a instruction booklet, the 5 dice, and it should come with 8 roll cards, 6 reference cards for the dice, and 16 different players cards. Next, I'm going to go over the different roles that you're going to find within Bang the Dice game. There's going to be 1 sheriff, 2 deputies, 2 renegades, and 3 outlaws. The sheriff is the only publicly known role, the rest are going to be hidden throughout the game. When you're playing as the sheriff, you automatically win if all the outlaws and all the renegades die. When you're playing as one of the deputies, you win automatically if the sheriff wins. If you play the outlaws, you win as soon as the sheriff passes away. However, the hardest role is the renegade. The renegade only wins if you're the last man standing. So the idea here is that you want to keep the sheriff alive in the beginning of the game and then kill him off at the end of the game. So once, say, the deputies and the outlaws are all done, it's then your job as the renegade to kill off the sheriff. If there are any other characters alive at the end of that round, when the renegade kills the sheriff, the outlaws automatically win. Next here, we're going to go over the different faces of the 5 dice. So when you resolve a 1, you can shoot 1 player 1 space to your left or 1 space to your right for a single point of damage. When you resolve a 2, you can shoot a player either 2 spaces away to your left or 2 spaces away to your right for 1 point of damage. The beer will let you assign 1 life point to any player at the table, including yourself. However, that player cannot go above the life total listed on their player card, except the sheriff, which can only go 2 above what their card states. Anytime that you roll an arrow throughout your turn, you take an arrow token from the reserve. However, if you take the last arrow, the Indians attack, and all players return their arrows to the pile and take damage equal to how many arrows that they had. This face here is the Gatling gun. If you resolve 3 Gatling guns at the end of your turn, you shoot all the other players at the table for 1 point of damage. Then you can put all the arrows that you have accumulated back to the arrow reserve. You must have 3 Gatling guns at the end of the turn or else it doesn't work. The last face here is the Dynamite. This is the only face that you are not allowed to re-roll unless your character states you can. If you roll 3 Dynamite during your turn, your gun misfires and your turn is over. You take 1 point of damage for the misfire, and then you can resolve the other dice. Next, I'll go over how an example of a turn works. When it becomes your turn, you start by rolling the dice. Here I roll a Dynamite, which I put off to the side. I also roll a 1 and a 2, which I want to keep, so I put them to the side as well. On my second roll, I get another Dynamite and an arrow. I take an arrow from the reserve and place it on my card. I put the other Dynamite aside. On my third and final roll, I get a 2. Now my rolling is over, and I resolve my dice. I shoot 1 player for a single point of damage, 1 space away from me for my 1. I also have 2 2s, so I can shoot 2 different players 2 spaces away, or the same player 2 spaces away for 2 damage. Then I pass the dice to the player on my left. A quick note, if a player passes away during your turn, they're eliminated and no longer count as a space. So say if during my turn I was able to kill off the player sitting next to me with my 1, a player on that side of me, which used to be 3 spaces away, would now be 2 spaces away and in range for my 2s. So guys, one thing I want to talk about before I move to the conclusion of the video here is this reference card. I'll flash a picture of it around now for you guys. What this here does is, not only does it let you know what the different faces of the dice do in case you guys forget, but it also orders them from the top to the bottom for how they're supposed to resolve throughout your turn. Sometimes things will come up like, say I had 3 life left. I had 2 arrows in my pile. I roll my very last roll for the turn. I roll a beer and an arrow. I take the last arrow from the pile, and it would deal 3 damage to me. But I have a beer, so am I allowed to give myself a health point so I can stay alive at the end of the game? This here is going to help answer those kind of questions for you guys. First, the pros. This game is very inexpensive. It cost me probably about 20 bucks Canadian. I found an ad right now on Amazon. It shows for $24 for Canadian with free shipping. Doesn't take very long to play. Only takes about 10 to 15 minutes usually. If you have all the way up to 8 players, usually it takes a little bit longer, but not too much. It doesn't take up very much space to play the game. You can play it on the go. It scales very well between 4 to 8 players. And I find that's kind of hard to find in short games. That they're great at 3, but absolute horrible at 5. That's not the case with this game. All the way from about 4 players all the way up to 8, the game is very, very balanced. The game is also pretty easy to comprehend. It's easy to learn, good to teach to families. For cons, honestly, it's kind of minor. There's not that much to complain about with the game. The Renegade can be a little awkward to play if it's your first time playing and you're not really sure when that you want to change up your strategy from keeping the sheriff alive to trying to finish him off. Some players can be eliminated kind of quickly in the game, so if you're playing with 8 people and everyone focus fires one guy, you can knock him out a little early, so that it's a problem, but not an overly large one you need to spend too much time on. And the biggest gripe that I have is that the first turn as the sheriff is kind of odd. You haven't had the opportunity to see anyone else play yet, so you don't really have any idea who your deputies are or who the outlaws are. Everyone's full health, so you don't need to roll beer. The only helpful things for you to roll are going to be Gatling guns, the 1s, and the 2s. So it just seems like on some random day, everyone's hanging around town, then the sheriff just starts shooting people. It's kind of odd, puts you as a sheriff, kind of a little odd predicament. You roll a whole bunch of 1s, and you look to the guy to your left, look to the guy at the right, and you're like, sorry guys, I'm shooting both of you. I don't really know who you are, though. I recommend this game. As I said, it's pretty short, it's easy to learn and play, and as I said, it's relatively inexpensive. Now, I've got more play out of this game than a lot of the board games in my collection, and this is a fraction of the cost. Have you played Bang the Dice game? Throw me a comment down in the section below to ask me any questions or to let me know what games you want to see me review next. Subscribe so you can see the videos I put out in the future. And to all of you guys, good gaming.